Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another episode of How About Them Celtics. Sam and I are here recording on Friday, September 27th, with plenty of Celtics stuff to talk about. We've got training camp fully underway. We've got players, we've got coaches. Coach is meeting Joe Mazzulla, talking to the media. Celtics basketball is back in the swing of things. How you doing, Sam?
Doing good. We're getting closer and closer to the season. In a week, we'll have a game to watch. Can you believe that? Literally less than a week, we're gonna have a game. Did you just say that?
No, I didn't. I'm just smiling because you're right.
Not only am I right, but I'm also a week away from a game. Two wins in less than a minute into the pod. How great is that? But we have a fun pod coming for you today. Jack has been at the Auerbach Center all week. He has some notes from practice today, some new Joe quotes dropped, which is you should have a notification on, no matter what. Anytime Joe speaks, you should get one. But if you want one for us, you can hit the bell because we're putting up new pods Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Game recaps when the games are back, which they will be in a week, are coming the morning after. Okay, so Joe quotes. We have a little bit of extra stuff from training camp. Baylor Scheierman talks about his transformation. Jaylen talks shoes. We have emails. And then we've got some NBA stuff. And then we have the rat list.
All right, cutting in here to the pod that we recorded on Friday because Friday night, the Knicks and Timberwolves decided to make a massive trade. Timberwolves are sending Karl-Anthony Towns to the New York Knicks in exchange for Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and a first-round pick. I believe it's a pretty heavily protected first-round pick, just to add some context, because I think it's Detroit's pick, and I think it's like lottery protected, then it's like top 8 protected, then it's like top 6. Like, I don't think it's going to convey. Yeah,
our boys
it's going to be
the playoffs.
It's going to be a while before that pick conveys. But Karl-Anthony Towns is now a New York Knick. The Charlotte Hornets, I believe, are in the mix as his third team, but they're only in the mix as like, I think what I saw like briefly reported or speculated on Twitter is that they're going to take on Daquan Jeffries, sign him to like a quote unquote 3-year deal because it's technically a sign and trade, but only the first year is going to be guaranteed. And he's going to make like $8 million just so the math works. So Daquan Jeffries getting a little payday potentially because this trade's going through. But Celtics have some extra competition in the East, potentially, depending on your thoughts on the trade. Cat heading to New York. Starting lineup is probably going to look something like Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Karl-Anthony Towns. Meanwhile, the Timberwolves probably going to look like Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, and Rudy Gobert out there in Minnesota. Very interesting trade. I've rambled enough as I was explaining it, so I'll let you give your thoughts first.
Sure. All right. So I tweeted last night in relation to this trade. I put the meme of the guy on Christmas that gets the same shirt as the shirt he's wearing.
I was at a bar. Danny found that very funny. Just thought you should know.
Yeah.
You were a hit.
Good.
You're a hit.
Danny makes me laugh, so if I can make him laugh, it feels like I'm returning the favor. So shout out to Danny. But I kind of feel that way. I don't feel like that's a 100% nail on the head description of the trade because it's not quite that. The reason why I think it fits, though, is because I feel like they are the same level of player. Neither one of those guys is like strike fear into your heart good. And they both have shortcomings that will be exposed in the postseason. Both guys certainly have not been postseason risers. Cat was really poor in the Western Conference Finals this year, and he really got killed for it. Now, do I think it makes a ton of sense for Minnesota to make this trade? Not really. I know it was a salary dump thing. But as far as the Knicks go, it does make sense. Jack, we talked plenty about Julius Randle's fit with the Knicks, and that team went on a big playoff run without him, and they looked really good without him, and it didn't really feel like they needed him. And the thing that we landed on was they really should trade him for a center because they lost Hartenstein over the summer, and that felt like a massive loss. When they made the Bridges trade and that was the cost of it, it really was like, do I really even feel like it's worth it? And we talked about that, and you felt like it was. I wasn't so sure. But now that Randle is gone and you have another big guy, I think it does work. Does it work perfectly? I'm not so sure. I think when everyone's healthy, it's going to be great. I think Mitchell Robinson being a big guy allows Towns to play more like he did in Minnesota next to Gobert and be more of a 4, which is probably his best fit. I don't think Towns is going to be set up great to guard an Embiid or a Jokic, but those are two very unique cases in the league. But overall, it definitely strengthens their depth in the front court for sure.
I almost disagree. I think I'd rather see Cat at the 5. He's obviously not the best defender in the world. Don't get me wrong. Like Karl-Anthony Towns is not sitting there like Isaiah Hartenstein. He's not sitting there like Rudy Gobert even. Like he's just not that caliber defender. But he's a big body, and as much as he has struggled in the past a little bit with guarding Embiid and Jokic, like you said, like those are two very unique situations. And I feel like the situation that the Knicks are planning for is Boston. And they're saying, okay, how do we beat the Celtics? And
Yeah,
the Celtics don't exactly have this big bruising center either. They have Kristaps Porzingis, and
they do not. You're
Karl-Anthony
right. Horford
Towns
is old
proved
too,
to
so.
be Horford's old, and even in his prime, like, well, maybe in his prime he could back down.
In his
Cat
prime,
Williams,
he
but,
could
like,
bang with the best.
maybe, but if you're planning for a world where you have to play, excuse me, the Celtics, I think you're fine with Cat because at the very least, last year he got some experience guarding the perimeter a little bit more because Gobert was in the paint. I think Cat's a better fit than a lot of people on Twitter are giving him credit for. I think offensively, it's beautiful. I mean, there was a chart. I don't know if I could find it easily, but it was how far out per possession teams drew opposing rim protectors, and the Celtics were one, like top of the list by far, because the 5-out offense and Porzingis, and the Knicks were just so dead last. It was unbelievable. Like rim protectors were just able to live in the paint because of the Knicks spacing.
Right.
You can't do that anymore. There's no world where that is going to be allowed anymore. One, Karl-Anthony Towns is probably the best shooting 5-man in the last 5-10 years, right? Whatever you can bring up other names, but
change the
he's
game.
Top of the top. Whatever you want to say. He's one of the best stretch fives in recent history. And then you have Mikal Bridges in now, who's an elite shooter. Josh Hart isn't the best shooter, so maybe you can, hide your big on him if you want to get really creative. OG Anunoby's a good shooter. You can't hide on Jaylen Brunson. Bench depth you can call into question a little bit. You still got Deuce McBride. You still got Mitchell Robinson. You can figure things out in between a little bit. I like the fit a lot, though. The question is, can they stay healthy? I saw somebody on Twitter going to bat for the Celtics saying, I'll let you guess who's played more regular season games in the last X amount of years, Cat or Porzingis. Right. And it's Porzingis, which is like,
that is crazy. That's not what I would have thought.
Exactly. And I don't even know if that's true now looking at the numbers because it's
Cat hasn't a lot of time this year.
He missed a lot of time. No, last year. Historically, he doesn't miss a lot of time though. Like Porzingis the last 3 years. That's just not true. 51, 65, 57. So maybe aggregate, but like Cat played 62, 29, 74. He just had a bad injury that 1 year. Like he's not necessarily an injury prone player. He's had a couple seasons knocked down by bigger injuries. But other than that, it's been a pretty like, okay, he played 82, 82, 82, 77 his first 4 years. Then he had a 35 where he dealt with an injury, 50 in a cut down season, and then 74, 29, 62. So historically speaking, he's not dealt with a ton of injuries. I like the fit. They're still not as good as the Celtics. I mean, if you're a Celtics fan listening to this, I think the Knicks definitely got better with this trade. I hated that they had to give it to DiVincenzo just because I thought the Nova storyline was fun. I know you don't really care for the Knicks, but I thought it was fun.
Did you see the thing that was like saying DiVincenzo might not have wanted to be there as much as everyone thinks?
That was Matt Issa of Forbes and some other sites. People think that he's probably not going to start in Minnesota either, unless you want to embrace Ant at the one, but he's not the best playmaker, so I don't really think you can do that. Right. I think the Knicks got better with this trade, though. We can talk about the Timberwolves' perspective from it, too, but like just sticking in the East to keep it related to the Celtics, I do think the Knicks got better in the regular season at the very least. I do think – I don't think they should start Mitchell Robinson and Cat together. I don't know if you said that. I've seen a lot on Twitter. I don't think that makes the most sense. I think you go back to
I think it works.
Like Cat. It could work, but I don't think that should be your primary lineup. Like you can roll that lineup out because Cat has the experience now of playing with another big guy. But I think the effectiveness and the intriguing part of having Cat in that lineup is so you can play like the Celtics play with Porzingis, not to like having a non-shooting big in there next to Cat kind of defeats the purpose of what they're trying to do offensively. I feel like.
It's a good point. I mean, the offensive stuff with Cat is very exciting if you're a Knicks fan. There's no disputing it. Like, I mean, I guess if you really want to say anything about Randall is the fact that he can create, but if you know me, I don't buy that. I think it's like a negative having Randall trying to create. So if you're going to use Towns to catch a shoot guy, fine. If you're wanting him to create stuff, good fucking luck. That was one of the worst things to watch in the deep playoffs last year with Minnesota. It was awful. Like he was atrocious in the post. He couldn't really make anything work for himself. The catch and shoot is where he's going to thrive with the Knicks, which is great. The defensive stuff is like a little bit more questionable. He's not quite as strong down low. He's not the greatest rim protector. The thing about Cat really that leaves me questioning this is I think the fit, there's two different layers of fit. There's fit schematically, which I think works. There's also fit characteristically, which I'm not sure works. Cat is notoriously soft as dog shit. And the thing that made this Knicks team run last year was their ability to just buckle down, get the hard-nosed offensive rebounds, do all of the dirty work. Like, that's what made Hartenstein such a great fit. He was a needle mover for them in the playoffs. Like, Cat's not really doing that stuff. And when he does try and do it, you can tell it's phony. Like, the personality isn't there. The grit isn't there. And I don't know if he fits great with, like, the identity of this Knicks team. Now, does that really matter? We're going to see. But I don't think you should be, like, ringing the alarm bells because of it. It's just it's there. It shouldn't be ignored.
Even I don't even know if this is what you're talking about, but like from a Celtics perspective, even if everything worked out perfectly and all 5 of the Knicks starting guys were at their peak, like I still think the Celtics have a better starting lineup. I think the Cat is soft angle is a bit overblown. I get it, especially considering we've seen him play with Tibbs before, and we know how that went with the Jimmy Butler beating them with the third stringers or whatever. Yeah. I understand,
time has passed,
but for as much as this soft angle has sort of become a thing, like it's not like Cat doesn't work hard. Like I feel like soft is being misconstrued as like I wonder if there's a world where Cat can get back to the rebounder he was in his early years, because I feel like people know him now as like, oh, he just likes to stand on the perimeter. His first few years in the league, dude averaged 10.5, 12.3, 12.3, 12.4, was averaging over 3 offensive rebounds a night. Okay, I'll say it again.
The good Wi-Fi
I said
today.
It's definitely me because I'm obviously not home right now, or I'm at home. I was saying I wonder if there's a world where Cat could get back to the level of rebounder and the grit guy he was early in his career, because he was averaging 12 a night with over 3 offensive rebounds. Like,
sure,
that would be exactly what the Knicks would like from him as a center if they rolled with him over Mitchell Robinson. I don't know if there's a world where he gets back to that. I do think it's intriguing to think of like, okay, maybe if he's not with Gobert and he's playing the 5 again, he could get down and dirty a little bit. I get the soft stuff. I get the concerns, and I don't think it's right of me to just dismiss it. I just think it's gotten sensationalized a bit over the last 2 years, because there's also the angle of people calling him like, look at how corny this. It's the corny stuff again, which I think is lame on all counts.
Corny, yes. There's also a layer of this where Ant had to like kind of like gas him up during the playoffs. Like that was a consistent theme in press conferences. He was like, he was telling Cat he's the man. He was gassing him up to the media. Like, all of that had to be done. And listen, you can't look at the Knicks and be like, they don't have anybody that can do that. I'm sure there's somebody there to, get Cat rolling and get him going. And I just think at this point, we really don't know how to feel about it. It doesn't feel like a home run trade. Like, it does not feel the way the Celtics trading for Holiday last training camp felt. You know what I mean? Like,
definitely,
that happened.
Definitely.
And we were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this happened. It feels like a semi-lateral move with a little bit better fit. And I think losing DiVincenzo kind of sucks. But if you throw in the angle, the report that he wasn't happy, I think that does do you a little bit of good. You really don't want to fuck with the vibes on this team, because that's all anybody can talk about with them. Media wants you to think they're the greatest, group of friends of all time.
The interesting part to me is it sounds like neither Cat nor Julius Randle knew this was coming. Like, that probably not ideal from either side. Like, you saw Julius like thanking everybody. Like, I don't know if it was right before or right after the trade. He'd like donated like $1 million to some charity or something in New York, and then this happens. And like 8 minutes before the trade, Cat like tweeted ... And at 3 a.m. the night of the trade, he was like taking shots with his dad in the Minnesota training facility. Like, clearly sad he was leaving, because he's been there for almost a decade now. So that's weird. Really. We can talk about it briefly from the Minnesota perspective. I've seen a lot of people hate on it. I don't actually hate it as much for Minnesota. I think a lot of people do. I feel like this is a pretty even trade for both teams. I think I'm obviously concerned offensively for the Timberwolves, because that lineup is, I'll put it this way. If Julius Randle has the shooting season he had 2 years ago, where he shot, let me see. Let me pull up his basketball reference, because Julius Randle is very much a season on, season off three for his whole career.
He's a spin the wheel, see what you're going to get guy.
It just, well, not even. It is literally just flip a coin every year. It is for the past X amount of seasons, 41%, 31%, 34%, 31%. Like, it's really good, not great, not bad, not great. And even before that, you go 27, 34. Like, it is literally just flip flop. So if you want to follow,
what I hear from you is one good shooting season, some not awful, and then awful.
Yes, sure. But I'm saying if Julius Randle can be a 34, 35% 3-point shooter on, let's say, 5 a game, because that's around what he's been taking, I kind of really like this for the Wolves because I do think it was a bit awkward to have two centers out there defensively at times. And for all the flaws you can put with Julius Randle, he's a pretty good defender, right? Like he is an athletic body. He's a great rebounder. He can guard in the post. He can help keep up with some of the quicker guards. He's not great at it, but he's probably better than Cat is at this point. And I know you weren't high on it. I like having a secondary facilitator out there. Like he's averaged around 5-6 assists. There's like a 4 assist season mixed in there, but he's been a pretty good playmaker out of the post at times. I hope it does. Again, as you're definitely going to mention, and I'll admit it too, there is the occasional night, and there's a chance that he, gets a bit ahead of himself. Like that is just Julius Randle. You take the good with the bad. But if he is a 35% ish 3-point shooter, I like the fit, especially with Dante DiVincenzo as well, because I think, that's just perfect for the Wolves, adding that depth, adding another player like that.
Yes.
So I like that a lot. I think he could average like 50. He could be a 6 man of the year guy for the Wolves. If Julius Randle shoots 30%, not nearly as good. You know what I'm saying? I think, I still think it'll be a good defensive fit. I think the defense will maybe even be even better, which is crazy because they were the best in the league last year. I think the extra playmaking is good, and I think the rebounding is good because he actually gets more rebounds than Cat does at times, even though I think they'll go down with Gobert there. But I think how good the Julius Randle fit is will be wholly dependent on what his 3-point shot looks like. But I think it's a good trade for the Wolves regardless because of one, the CBA stuff, and two, DiVincenzo's a damn good player. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, and unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. One Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on PrizePicks for every week in September. That's right, only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on PrizePicks because it's gone when September ends. Also, you can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. Sam and I used PrizePicks all season long while on How Bout Them Celtics pregame shows. We picked Jason Tatum dunks, we picked Drew Holiday steals, we picked a ton of stuff, especially during the finals when Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, we were kind of preying on their downfall. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly. When you play $5, that's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game.
This is just not the time to fuck around if you're the Wolves, I think.
That's the part.
Ant's young. I don't know when his big boy contract kicks in. It might already be there. Let's see, he got drafted 2020. So is this the last year of his rookie deal? Is this the first year of his extension? I don't know. No, this is definitely the first year because I think that's why all of these problems are now a thing because he's making more money.
This is, I think, it's the first year. Yeah, he's going to make 42, 45, 50, 53, 56.
Okay, so just to pile onto that, it kind of goes along with my point, even though it's not quite the same as it was last year where you have the luxury of your best guy making $12 million, whatever he was making on the rookie deal.
Yeah.
So now you have him on 40 something. There's only so many more years before he's making the max, the 60 million, eating even more of your cap room. This to me is just not the time to start cheaping out. You have to keep the talent in while you can afford to pay these other guys.
Well, yes, but for as much as the Celtics went full on, I'm just going to pay everybody. The reality is not every ownership group can, one, stomach that, and two, literally afford it. The Timberwolves were going to be one of the most expensive rosters in the sports world this year, and it's not like they have the market of a Boston or a New York or an LA to back that. As much as they were awesome and they were great, and it's great, they were great, it's Minnesota. Going deep in the playoffs only helps boost their profits so much. The Celtics could probably get bounced in the first round and Minnesota could make the finals and the Celtics would probably have still a better revenue season. You know what I'm saying? There's only so much you can do as a smaller market team. And the reality is some ownership, not every ownership group is the Ballmers or Wick Grosbeck, who is literally willing to get in a spat with his father to pay the guys, right? Like that's just not a normal thing. It's just something that we've gotten to enjoy because Wood Prospect was so invested in getting another title. So it's just like it was too expensive. They had to do something, and it's not going to be perfect this year, but it's a move to help them cut salary down the line. And like the Timberwolves are still a good team. Like you look at the depth on this team now, and I like the depth a lot better. It's just not. I think what you said with the Knicks makes a lot of sense. Like I think Randall and Cat are about the same level-ish of player. I'd probably say Cat's a little bit better, but they're like in the same tier, whatever you want to say.
That's how I saw it, the tier thing.
Yeah.
Really.
They traded tier for fit. I think the Timberwolves maybe have a slightly less ideal fit right now, but they still have the same tier player, and they also added DiVincenzo. So you look at the roster, it's what I say, Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, and then off the bench, you're still going to have Dante DiVincenzo, just drafted Rob Dillingham, Naz Reid still there, who just won 6th Man of the Year, Nickeil Alexander-Walker's still there. Like, that's a damn good basketball team up and down. Like, regardless of if the fit's not amazing, like if the fit isn't perfect with Julius Randle in the starting lineup, you can just slide Ant up, have him play some threes, a little bit small, but you could run Mike Conley, DiVincenzo, Ant, Jaden, and then Rudy Gobert. Or if it's a smaller lineup and Gobert's going to get cooked, just run Randle at center for times. Like, or Naz Reid, put Naz Reid. You know what I'm saying? There's stuff that they can do if the starting lineup doesn't work perfectly.
I can't wait until the first time Randle fumbles out of bounds with Ant. Ant's just not going to tolerate it. Like, I feel like those two have big personalities, and like they're going to kind of have a hard time dealing with each other, at least for a little bit. Like, I think there's going to be growing pains. I don't dispute that it could eventually work. Like, I see the value of having somebody that, even though I think it's a little reckless and inefficient, like has proven at times he can be a shot creator for himself. Like, you can't really say that about Cat. And it really felt like they could have used some of that in the playoffs last season. It's one of the reasons why they didn't end up going as far as they would have liked. So I see the vision a little bit, but at the same time, it's just like, I don't know, man. Like, good fucking luck. It's Randall. At the end of the day, it's Randall.
It's two guys on similar tiers who are on that tier because they have flaws. Like, I think that's the best way to put it. And I think from an offensive perspective, Cat is definitely the better fit in Minnesota, but I think defensively, Randall makes more sense. And so I think I would rather have Cat.
Best defense in the league last year, right?
I know. I know. I agree. So you don't really want to mess that up, but just like the ability, like I think they'll have an extra guy who can keep up with like a Jason Tatum or a those bigger guard or forwards they're going to have to play eventually at some point in the playoffs, even though I'm trying to think of like somebody in the West. It's Shea, it's Luka, it's Jokic. Like they kind of really don't have those types of forwards in the West. KD,
Durant,
maybe, I guess,
kind of.
but they swept them anyway, so it didn't matter. I don't know. I think you'd definitely rather have Cat than Randall, but would you rather have DiVincenzo and Randall or Cat? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think it's a crazy trade for either team.
I mean, I think it's fine for both sides. I'm more the Timberwolves to me are just like, I thought they were due for a little bit of a letdown anyways. I suppose you take a swing. The Knicks, I just don't really know what this means yet. Like, I'm going to have to see it, really.
Mm-hmm. I saw somebody say, when is the last time two contending teams swapped big pieces like this?
It
like
was
two,
Noah,
like,
I think. Because she was like,
maybe,
yes, I do think these are both contenders. Because she was ready to get killed.
I can't remember the last time this happened. Like it is kind of, I don't want to say unprecedented, but it hasn't happened in a long time.
Man. Celtics and Cavs. Isaiah Kyrie.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't pan out to be two superstars. Like Isaiah just never got back to that level. But at the time, it was like swapping.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyways.
Yeah, I think that's the most recent.
Any other thoughts?
No.
Okay.
Season 4.
Yeah. Sounds good. Season 4? What's season 4?
Celtics in 4.
Oh, season 4. I thought you said season 4. I was like, what?
You said the same thing twice, but I do know what you're confused about. Yes.
Yeah.
You said season 4. I thought you said season 4.
I know. It's the same.
I understand. Yes.
All right. We'll throw it over to the rest of the show, which we recorded yesterday. Ready to rock. Let's get into Joe here. Joe Mazzulla just can't stop being a quote machine. And for the most part, the quotes weren't even from him. There was one that was a good one. Joe talked to practice today, and Gary Washburn asked him, excuse me, if there's anything in particular he studied this summer, trying to hint at, like, you get any inspiration from killer whales or wide receiver routes or stuff like that. But Joe said that he watched the Olympics, said, I just think any environment you can go into and can breed different themes, concepts, and principles. I thought the Olympics were a lot of that. And he referenced in particular, he said there was a judo match that I watched where the guy was up 1-0 and something happened where he fell and lost because of a penalty right before the end, and he lost the gold. It was a small technicality that he lost on, and it was amazing that at a critical point with 8 seconds left of the match, being able to win, you lose. You were up 1. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. It just sounds like an AI generated quote, but it was genuinely a quote that came out of his mouth.
It actually sounds like Philip's Mad Libs. That was really what got me to kind of like smirk, is I was just thinking, wow, it sounds like Philip wrote this. Joe really just does never turn off. He's just drawing inspiration from everything he's watching, looking at. I wonder if he's ever going to have a lesson he learns from media members. Maybe at a press conference, like Bobby Manning wearing the tie one day.
See,
from that.
Perhaps, but the problem is if we ask him, he's just going to say, I don't learn anything from you idiots. Or he's just getting like, he's just not going to.
He'll never give the satisfaction.
I mean, there was something the other day. John mentioned something to him, John Corrales, and he was like, Joe, last year you came in, you said, oh, we need to improve on this. We need to improve on this. We need to improve on this. And you haven't, excuse me, mentioned that this year. You've said like, oh, we'll learn based on the environment. Joe goes, no, there are those things. I just haven't told you yet. Maybe I will. He's just like toying with us at this point. So Joe had that. And then Jaylen Brown dropped a funny Joe quote today. He said, training camp's been hard. It's been a lot of conditioning, a lot of defensive stuff. It's been great. Exactly what we needed. Then he goes, Joe Mazzulla is a psycho. And then he stopped and he said, in a good way, it's probably one of the tougher training camps, first 2 days that I've had in terms of intensity, conditioning level, physicality, defensive warrior mentality. So I think it's been good for us. Now we're just working on building great habits, breaking habits from just being off in the summer and working on trying to play great Celtics basketball. And the day before, Drew Holiday dropped it was a hard day. It was a tough day. Again, I got traded last year, and I think I missed the first day, and I wish I would have missed the first day this year too. So apparently training camp has just been hell for the Celtics so far because of Joe Mazzulla, which is fun.
You know what's funny about all this is we have kicked around the idea on this show before, and I know it's been kicked around in the media circles that it would be fun if Joe Mazzulla put the media through media training camp. And when you hear this type of talk from NBA players that look the way Jaylen Brown and Drew Holiday do, specifically Jaylen, I'm sure we'll get to his shirtless photo today. And they're like, this is difficult. It's kind of discouraging. I don't know if we'd be able to survive a Joe Mazzulla-led practice.
Definitely
at
not.
all.
Definitely not. 100% not.
Even if you did like 10% of it.
Yeah, no. I can only imagine. I wish we got to watch practice, but obviously we don't. I just think that would be a very interesting thing to be able to experience and or view, because clearly Joe's putting these guys through the ringer, which is really funny. Jay King also spoke with Sam Hauser, and he talked about the first practice. And I said, if I could have told you exactly what was going to happen today, I wouldn't have guessed it in 1 million years. It was very random. You get your points based on rebounds, turnovers, blocks, steals, everything except putting the ball in the hole, essentially. I guess it makes you focus your energy on something other than trying to score, which is probably the goal. But it's just different emphasis, which is great. But it was interesting for sure. He said it was one of the unique aspects of training camp, first day back to practice before training camp. The Celtics coaches taped different colors onto certain areas of the courts. The corner of one court features 2 blue arrows, each pointing from the 3-point arc to the side of the paint, and a pink square. The other side of the same court showed off several rectangles, including one enclosing each low block. They were teaching new teaching tools for Mazzulla. He said, I can't even explain it, what everything was. It's hard to put into words some of the stuff that he comes up with. Some of it has to do with offensive spacing. Some of it has to do with defensive stuff. There's no rhyme or reason. There's a method to the madness, I guess. And then he was asked why Mazzulla shakes things up. He said, 1, I think to keep everybody's mind fresh. 2 is just how can you handle uncomfortable situations where you don't necessarily know what's going on? How can you channel it and use it to your advantage? I think those are the things that can be tied into what's going on here. But sometimes I think he does drills to literally F with us. Like I literally do, which is cool. It's cool. Just not enough can be said about the mind of Joe Mazzulla.
He has proved to be the perfect fit for this team. And not only like the team as in the group of players, I mean the fan base too. I do think any fan base would be like, this guy is incredible, but I think the Celtics fan base, the way that people are so passionate here and they hang on to every basket and they watch every game and they show up in full support, they want to know that the same level of commitment is going on in the practice facility. It's going on in the coaching offices where Joe is planning all this stuff out. As much as it might sound ridiculous for all of this, if he's doing all of these charades, new drills, and just out of the box strategies to get these guys to learn defensive spacing, his attention to detail is far beyond something that either you or I can comprehend. He's putting in the work. He wants to make sure his team, to tie it back to the judo thing, isn't going to lose on some small technicality. They are going to have all of their, what is it? Dot your T's, cross your I's. Yeah. No. Dot your I's, cross your T's. Cross your T's, dot your I's. I think it's the last one I said is what you're supposed to say. That's the saying I was going for. But anyways, he's making sure they don't lose on some bullshit. He's making sure they know where they need to be and how they can optimize everything possible to just give themselves an advantage.
Yeah, and I mean, he's always been this way, and I feel like it's a reason why some fans were a bit out on him at the start because it was so jarring, and now it's just kind of a part of what the Celtics do, which makes it really fun and really interesting. I don't know, man. It's hard to comprehend and explain exactly how Joe Mazzulla works. Like, apparently he's been in some Patriots defensive meetings with Gerard Mayo, and he said, I think you can learn a lot from those. Pre-snap communication, how they disguise their defenses, start one, flex into another, what their different situational defenses are. All of those things are super important. It's been great being able to see how you can factor those into disguising what your defense looks like at the beginning of a possession. Maybe you go to something different later in the possession, how you are able to adjust on the fly based on what the other offense is doing, and teaching your guys the if-then scenarios that kind of go into what each offensive possession can bring to the table. Our guys do a great job of just processing the information that the offensive possession gives you each and every time. And how do we just continue to adjust them? And then he said, I've learned a lot from him, from his relationship. Management is important. Communication is important, and just being innovative on how you go about it. There's never one way of doing it. So it's good seeing him in his environment, being able to learn from that. Never ends, man. Like, this guy was marking down things in a baseball game earlier this summer because he thought it would be useful. It's hard to explain the lengths to which he is willing to go to think of every possible angle to help the Celtics win basketball games.
I think the best part about Joe Mazzulla is there is starting to become, I don't really know what to describe this as, but it's almost like a suspension of disbelief. Yeah, that's what it is. Where if somebody told you that they saw Joe Mazzulla at a Stop and Shop paying attention to how people stock shelves and he was in there like shadowing employees for a day, you would believe it. You would believe if you heard about him at a Wendy's watching how they make a Frosty and seeing how they perfectly spiral the drip from the machine in the cup to make it have a nice design, the attention to detail. Those are the kind of things that you could just make up almost as like a sequel to your AI generated story. What are things that Joe Mazzulla could take lessons from? What is the furthest he would go? The grounds he would travel, which is already overseas because he's gone to Manchester City to do so, to learn more and study different things so the Celtics can become a better team.
Yeah, man. I'm very grateful for Joe Mazzulla. It's an entertaining thing to get to be able to cover a team coached by him, and it's nice to see the Celtics have consistency at the head coaching position too, because I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon, which is very fun. I love going to watch football in person. It might not be Sam's taste, but I personally love going to watch a Pats game, even though they're not in the best place right now. I saw them play the Chiefs last year, and even though Kansas City absolutely won the game, it was still a great time, and I make sure to get all my tickets through Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Me Me and my friends are going to see the Red Sox tonight, and guess what? Game Time was the choice. You can pick the great deals, and like I just mentioned, you can filter out all the fees, you can filter out everything to make sure you are getting the best deal possible. That is my favorite thing, getting to know what the exact price is before I purchase, because I know I'm getting the best deal on Game Time. You can see the view from your seat, you get the lowest price guaranteed, even if it's canceled. Cancellation protection is great. It's the perfect app to buy all your tickets. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and everything else. I saw NoahCon this summer, and guess what? Game Time came in clutch. All in pricing, again, my favorite thing. Toggling this feature shows you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Next thing we got is Baylor Scheierman put on a ton of weight. Obviously, there were a ton of those memes going around during media day of him going from Nebraska to Dorchester and him growing up from being the person who threw the water bottle at Kyrie to the person he is now, which was entertaining. And he actually said that it was a directive from the Celtics that he should put on some weight, put on some mass. He said that was directed from them, something they sat down, or that we sat down and talked about, things they wanted me to improve on. And that was something that I thought was important for me coming up to this level. They're pleased with the progress I've made. He said, from summer league to now, I spent a lot of time on my body, worked on my body, trying to put on a lot of lean mass. I've been able to gain 10 to 15 pounds in that area. And he said the way he's done it was I changed my diet. Shout out to Steve in the kitchen, helped me figure out things. It's nice to have the kitchen here, something that I'm able to take advantage of while I'm at the facility, to be able to get 2 or 3 meals in here a day, and then also taking creatine and avoiding some of the junk foods and stuff like that. And for added context, I just put this in my articles because I thought it was important. At the combine, he was 6'6" and 202. So which means he's probably around 6'6" and now like 215, 220. That is on par with guys like DeMar DeRozan, Klay Thompson, Aaron Nesmith, Taurean Prince, just for like some context as to what he could be coming in looking like next season.
That's a very important context, just because you can be like, well, I'm the average person is like 5'10" and who knows how much they weigh. And they're like, well, what does that mean? How much is he supposed to weigh at 6'6"? So that is good context. With Scheierman, probably power rankings of things that the team can tell you to do is put on weight. Number 1 means you just get to eat, but not really, because they have a specific diet for him. I think it's one of those Always Sunny podcasts they do along with the show. For context, Jack, there's a season where one of the characters comes back in the first episode of the season and he's just fat as shit. And he's legitimately fat. Like the actor got fat on purpose. And he was just talking about how his job was just to drink like 3 milkshakes a day. So he gained weight. But in the episode, all he does is talk about how he gained so much mass. He has more mass now. And that is directly where my mind went with Baylor Scheierman. He is Mac from Always Sunny, Fat Mac. Because now, Jack, now you have seen him. The angle that he was given on NBC Sports Boston was not a kind angle.
It did him a little dirty. No, he just looks more built now. I will say the truth of he is unrecognizable from summer league to now is very true. Like he looks like a completely different person, but he does not look overweight. He looks like just got a bit more mass. He looks like he has more mass to him, literally.
Can you imagine the luxury of just like the team's like, hey, go get muscular, and you're like, okay, and then they just kind of do all of the difficult, except for lifting the weights, all the difficult things for you. They tell you exactly what to eat. They give you the right supplements.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is unbelievable. Just
phenomenal. I mean, we obviously haven't been in there, but from where the media section is, you can see the window down to the court. But if you look left, you can see the windows into the kitchen. So we can see what the kitchen kind of looks like. It's just got everything. It kind of looks like a college cafeteria in sense of like they've got a section where there's just like some cereal. They've got a section where there's like a chef cooking stuff. And so I think from what I've seen in like O'Shea's vlogs, they get like a box with stuff that's personally made for them. And when you walk into the Auerbach facility, when I get out of the elevator, I look left and I see like the kitchen, and it is fully like just a restaurant, like full everything kitchen with like chefs and everything. Like these guys got it made is basically what I'm saying. Like they are hooked up with the food.
I would be very curious to ask all these guys, be like, what is your routine? What is your daily routine? What is your diet like? Like, this conference, like you would have to like be working on a major piece and you have to go further in depth on that. But that is a truly fascinating aspect of all of this, is just how they stay in such good shape, how they fuel themselves, what their daily routine is. Like, How do they live a life around all of this? It's kind of interesting.
I think it's definitely interesting. I'm very excited to see Baylor Scheierman next year. I don't think he'll play real minutes at the NBA level, but I think he'll get a lot of time in Maine. He also, another interesting tidbit that, has come out since we've talked last, is he's developed a relationship with Sam Hauser and Craig Lucianette, who's an assistant coach now. Shout out Craig. He's not a player development guy anymore. He's just an assistant beast. He said, working on my shot, talking about what he's done this summer, continuing to tune things up, trying to get it off quicker. Been working a lot with Greg a lot and Hauser a lot. Sam Hauser a lot. They've been giving me a lot of great tips and tricks to try to do that in the game. Said obviously he's one of the best shooters in the league. And it was a key part of the championship team last year, talking about Sam Hauser. Just working out with him, seeing how he, not only on the court, but just routine in general, how he prepares for workouts, what he does after his workouts, and then in workouts, just sharing tips about different tricks that help you get your shot off quicker. And he talked about his relationship a little further, about whether or not he went up to Sam and instigated it or vice versa. He said it was a little of both. When I first got back from summer league, we started working out together, me and him. We just happened to be in the same group. We're both from the Midwest. He's from Wisconsin. I'm from Nebraska. So we kind of had that connection. He's just been there for me whenever I have a question. So if there's anybody for Baylor Scheierman to be learning from when it comes to 3-point shots, probably a good person. Probably the best guy.
It's very exciting to hear that he has almost been taken under Sam Hauser's wing. When you said he developed a relationship with Hauser, like, that's good news. And it's what you should, as someone with all kinds of NBA experience, it's what you should be doing as a rookie when you first get to the league, right? It's a great way for them to get Scheierman on the right track. It's a great way for him to learn. It's a great way for him to develop routines and really know what he should be doing, how much work he should be putting in. Because Hauser had a very similar rise, not even when you want to think about like the shooting aspect of it, where Scheierman does bring more to the table than just that, but just joining the team without a specific role already carved out for him. Hauser had to work. He had to play in Maine. He had to perfect his shot. He had to perfect his defense so he could be serviceable. He could be out there. He could be a part of Joe Mazzulla's rotation. Baylor Scheierman joins the Celtics with the same challenge ahead of him. He has to really sharpen his skills. He has to become a better defender than we saw in Summer League. He was solid, but he just wasn't quite there yet. He was getting beat off the dribble a fair amount. And what was the thing that you were getting the most mad at, Jack? He wasn't really jumping on when guys would be driving on him. He just kind of wouldn't jump with them.
He'd play great defense, get to the guy, stick with him until he went up for the rim, but then the guy would jump for a layup, and Baylor Scheierman would just stand there like this, like, bro, just go straight up, just jump with him, just go, come on, like, you had him, you did it. The hard part was over, but didn't.
I will say, when you said he developed a relationship with, I was like, it would be real fun if you said like Dua Lipa.
Dorchester, Baylor Scheierman dating Dua Lipa. No. You know what I did see today on the timeline? Do you know Lana Del Rey? You know the name?
I know the name.
She just got married to an alligator tour guide, one of the guys who drive the swamp boats in Louisiana and give tours of swamps. She got married to him on a swamp. This is like a completely real thing that I saw on Instagram today.
I'm gonna have to Google this because if you like trotted a lineup of women out there, I could not pick Lana Del Rey.
I don't know what she looks like either. I just know she's really famous, and her marrying a Louisiana swamp tour guide is really funny.
Yep. There it is. Lana Del Rey marries alligator tour guide Jeremy Dufresne.
Yep. Just just thought it was funny. Anyways, moving back into Celtic stuff, Jaylen Brown spoke to the media today for the first time since the official release of his new performance company, 741. And he spoke about sort of the reason why he's doing it, explained everything. He said, he was asked, like, what was the point? Like, why did you decide to do this? And he said, honestly, boredom. It'd be great for it to be successful, but even if it's not, who cares? I was just kind of tired of seeing the same old things and the same deals being constructed in the same way. So hopefully within the next 20 years, even if this isn't super successful, it sparks other athletes and other creators to have the courage to start and build something on their own. Said, I plan on sharing my story, how many resources it took, and the ins and outs of everything I've gone through. Maybe turn it into a documentary, something like that. But honestly, just to be a catalyst to what I want the future to look like, more brands, more creativity, rather than just these major corporations, just kind of maintaining it. So that's what I want to do. Also said that some guys have been already reaching out about the shoes, said they feel great, light, able to move. Said some guys have already asked me to get them some pairs. So when they drop in a month, I'll make sure that we get them out to some NBA guys, some college guys, some younger guys, just give guys some other options. Kind of bored of seeing the same things over and over again. Give guys some more creativity with their sneakers. So basically just sort of being a launch pad for other guys to be able to do their own thing rather than signing with just one of these major corporations.
Do we know the price? How much each pair is going to cost?
200 is the
200
base price point.
Little expensive, not all that much. It's not like double the price of a regular shoe, so that's like a good thing. But it kind of does sound like this is a little bit of a spite shoe, but also a goodwill spite shoe. He's spiting people with goodwill in his heart. He's trying to do something good, but he's definitely spiting the big corporations because he's just kind of sick of all of it, which is what he's saying. I hope the shoes work out. Jack and I had a lengthy discussion about the shoes last time. We don't really have to go into it all again. If you want to listen to it, it's on the last pod. But regardless, if it goes poorly or it goes well, he'll have done it. And I do think the story about how it all came together will be an interesting piece, whether it's a documentary, article, whatever it may be. I just think the inspiration for it and what actually goes into having all of the shoes made, starting the company, the marketing, building the website, it's going to be an interesting storyline for all of us to follow.
I think this is a very Jaylen thing to do. Like, it just feels like throughout his time in the league, he has been trying to follow the non-conventional route for the sake of being an individual and not sort of succumbing to just what other people are doing. And this is the ultimate version of that. I personally don't think the shoes are very cool looking, but that's just my opinion. I don't. It's not. If they're for you, they're for you. I will say, I'll pull up a picture. I don't think they look cool. They look very comfortable, though, if that makes sense. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they look like they would be like a nice, easy slip-on shoe. Like they'd probably fit really nicely. They do look very light. The beads just look kind of awkward to me. But again, it's who cares about what I think? Like it's Jaylen Brown's signature shoe. He can do what he wants with them. I think the idea of the brand's really cool, though.
Can you pull a picture?
I don't know. I don't know if this is a thing where he's looking to like sign other people to the company, or if it's just like, hey, here's a shoe, you can rock it if you want, type of thing.
So those look like they're not high tops. They look like they're
correct. Yeah.
I don't like that either.
No.
Personally, I don't.
I like high tops. I like high tops better around the ankle.
So.
I will say you see a lot of NBA players wear the low tops though. So I wonder if there's a thing about it. I wonder if it's more mobility.
They all saw Kobe do it.
Perhaps.
Well, he was like the first one to really do it. It's half a joke, but half true. I like the thought that they are light. I think that's important. That was one of my favorite things about the Tatum ones, to play in those. The problem is with those, they weren't durable. So I'm curious to see how Jaylen's shoes kind of combat that. Like, are they going to fall apart after a little while? Not even saying like people are going to get hurt wearing them. Just will they wear out? Like, I never got hurt wearing the Tatum ones, but they didn't wear out very fast.
Yeah, it's true. I like the Tatum 2s. Curious about the Tatum 3s. A part of me wants to buy the Jaylens.
Those bad boys on.
Part of me wants to buy the Jaylens just for the curiosity sake of what they feel like, how they are.
We have a responsibility to, right?
I'm not going to buy them, though. I don't want to spend $200.
All right. September 29th, as you're hearing this.
If
Jaylen scores 50, we got to buy. We got to buy the shoes.
Handshake. I'll do that. If Jaylen scores 50, I'll buy the shoes for the sake of
that's how we ended up with the Tatums.
Science. For science. This is true. This is how we ended up with the Tatums. Yeah. Damn. Anyways, all right. Let's jump over to the email here. See what y'all have to say. Reminder, as always, you guys can email us at hbtcpod@gmail.com. That's hbtcpod@gmail.com. We read the emails every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, all the full pods. I got a few today, starting with Mr. Jonathan Smyers. He sent us his tier list of NBA players. He said superstars equal unbelievable talent and unbelievable popularity throughout a long period of time. You can build a contender around them. Star is not as much popularity and talent. You can build a solid playoff team around them, but not a contender. Fringe star, guys you can build around, but the team might be ass. Watch superstars or ring chasing stars. High level role player equals guys you don't build around, but they are the pieces you build with. Also at the end, he said Woj retired before Embiid made it to the conference finals. It's true. Superstars: JT, LeBron, Curry, Durant, Embiid, Giannis, Jokic, Luka. Excuse me. Sure. I think Shea is probably up there as well at this point. And I'd say Brunson's real close as well, but I don't hate it. Stars, he says Jaylen Brown, DeMar DeRozan, John Morant, Zion, Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, Halliburton, Jimmy, Jamal Murray, Ant, Edwards, Shea, Gilgeous-Alexander, Paul George, Kawhi, Dame, AD, Kyrie, Julius Randle, De'Aaron Fox, Devin Booker, Trae Young. I don't know if Julius Randle's right now a
Certainly
star.
not.
I think Paulo should probably move up. I think Maxey should
Agree.
probably move up. I think Bam should definitely move up. I think Wemby should definitely move up. I think the rest are pretty okay. Cade, Garland, Middleton, Siakam, Maxey, Scotty Barnes, Levine, Bam, Harden, Beal, McCollum, Wemby, Desmond Bain, Jalen Green, Şengün, Clay. I assume this is DeJounte Murray, Laurie Markkanen, LaMelo, Wagner, Cat, and Brandon Ingram. I suppose. Again, I think Siakam should probably, weirdly enough, maybe he's just the top of this tier. But I think Paolo should be up there. I think Wemby should definitely be up there. I think DeRozan should be moved down. I think Randall should be moved down. The rest I'm pretty okay with. And I think Shea should be moved up. And Brunson's okay for now. But I think, yeah. Thoughts?
I feel like Embiid should go down a level. It's like weird. And I also think at this point, Durant should too.
No. I still think these guys are top superstars. Like, you can build an elite team around them. Like, it's just the MVP, the fact, like, for I get it what you mean with Embiid, because based on his thing is like you can build a contender around them, and for as much as they haven't been there, but like when he is healthy and on the court, he is one of the most dominant players in the world. And so for as much as he might not be in the top 5 or on the same level as a Giannis, Jokic, Luka, Tatum, like, he's still a superstar in my eyes, at least. Like, Joel Embiid's a superstar.
Well, Durant falls in this category too, just because I think he's over that peak. Like, he's on the way down. Now, how far down he ever goes is another question, but right now, the discussion has been had whether or not he's better than Tatum. And obviously, Tatum is on this top level, so putting Durant there does not negate Tatum being above that. But do we really think he's on the same level as the rest of those guys? I'm not quite sure. I think he's almost in between these two levels. I don't know if he's completely dead, but I don't know.
I'll put it this way. I think you put Brunson and Shea up, and that's the top 10 players in the NBA. So that's what I'm, you know what I'm saying? Like, that is what I'm thinking of. Like, that is my top 10. And he also has high-level role players as Drew Holiday, Derek White, Al Horford, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Malik Monk, Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert, Alex Caruso, Clint Capella, Hartenstein, Brook Lopez, Jared Allen, Jalen Suggs, TJ McConnell, Mikal Bridges, KCP, Aaron Gordon, McDaniels, and Draymond Green. I think Mikal Bridges should go up to fringe stars. I think Clint Capella should not be on the list. I think the rest are pretty, okay with me. Yeah.
Capella being there is really weird.
Yeah, I think Capella's going to go. I'm curious to see if you forgot anybody. I'm going to
just say Ja Morant
real quick. Yeah, Ja's up in right here. J-A.
Just because there's Ja and then there's J.A. And I thought J.A. was Ja.
Yeah, Jared Allen. Just doing a quick scroll to see if there's anybody in the list that I didn't see.
McConnell being there is very weird.
It is, but I get it, so I'm a little okay with it. I do think he's a tier below them, but I'm not gonna like. Oh, Sabonis absolutely on the list somewhere, probably a star or at least a fringe star. He's got to be on the list. Sabonis is incredible. I know Sam and I've had our arguments, but even Sam would agree that he should be on the list somewhere. Yeah. Jalen Williams, I think, should be on the list somewhere. Chet Holmgren should definitely be on the list somewhere. Jaren Jackson too. Evan Mobley should be on the list somewhere. I'm just going through the Ringer's top 100 players. Fred VanVleet probably somewhere. Kobe White probably somewhere. Herb Jones probably somewhere. This is just nitpicking at this point. I think it's a fine list. I'm just some guys.
I mean, there's definitely work that went into it. So thank you, John.
Yeah, shout out, John. Thank you. Excuse me. Next thing from RJ. A different question about the opposition. Even folks, let's take a break from trying to guess if Brad will cash in the 15th roster spot early this year. Let me ask you a completely different question. Which team will have the toughest coaches for the Celtics to face in the East this year? Nick Nurse in Philly, JB Biggerstaff with Sam's Pistons. How about Charles Lee down in Charlotte or someone different? What are your thoughts? Be well. RJ, the objective answer is Eric Spoelstra. It's always Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah.
Until the day that man retires, he will be the best coach in the NBA. It's just Eric Spoelstra. I also think with the new weapons and everything going on and the talent they have, I think Tom Thibodeau is a good head coach as well. You can say what you want about him running his players too much. He's just objectively a good coach regardless of that. So I think those are probably my 1-2 right there.
Spoelstra has to be number one.
He's definitely
had me in shambles after one loss in the first round last year. It was just like, it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
The guy's going to find a way somehow. I think we're just conditioned to assume that we are all going to watch the Celtics crumble if they have to face off against Spoelstra. So that is the unequivocal number one. Has to be.
Sneaky.
Other guys.
Sneaky. Rick Carlisle. Pacers play them really well.
I was just about to head in that direction. That's okay, because we're there anyways. I think he does a good job. He got more out of that Pacers team probably than he should have last year. And CBS Sports seems to think he's in the top 4 coaches. What was he, the second best coach on their list? Remember,
he was
there
top
was
5
list? Yeah,
he's top 5 for sure.
He's been around the block a while. That Pacers team was a really difficult team for the Celtics to play against in the playoffs last year. Yes, they swept them, but all those games are competitive, and they could have lost at least 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So Carlisle is absolutely a fit to answer this.
The other dark horse, they've played them well ever since they've gotten there, and I think they have a better, well-rounded team this year now, even if they've only made a couple signings. Jamal Mosley coaches that Magic team real well. And so I think if you're looking at guys who are on the come up that haven't necessarily established themselves yet, that's a guy, because KCP is going to help them a lot. I think if their 3-point shooters develop even more, they could have a good shot, especially with Tristan Da Silva, who looked great in Summer League. So I think Jamal Mosley is another guy to look out for if you're looking for an up-and-comer.
Yeah, Orlando's a great answer. Those motherfuckers are always a pain in the ass. They, no matter where you find them, they will be there. So Jamal Mosley definitely deserves the credit for that.
Shout out. Next one from RJ 2218. Morning, folks. Before you ask, no, my subject line is not what the Nuggets will be wearing on their City Edition jerseys this year. 2218 is the total number of minutes played by everyone at the end of the Celtics roster last year. That's what was left over after the starting 6 and Circle of Trust guys had their court time. For a little perspective, JT, D White, JB, and Drew each logged more minutes than that. On their own last year, leaving out the center rotation because X and Nemi will pick up KB's court time. We have 2,218 minutes over 82 games to be parceled out between guys like Walsh, Springer, Scheierman, Davison, Peterson, and Watson, which means Coach Mazzulla, unless Coach Mazzulla alters his in-game management, 2 of those guys are likely pulling minutes on par with what Svi had last year, or maybe Brizzy. Just a little reality reminder before people start imagining Lonnie Walker getting the same 17 minutes per game he had last year. Be well, RJ, and a long time fan of realistic data projections. I think more of those minutes are going to go to X and Nemi and Luke than people realize. I also think Springer should get some more opportunities this year, which is fun, obviously, for you, Sam, and some other guys.
Just me. It's literally just me.
Do you know what I saw today? It's not just you, because Noah showed me this at practice today. Somebody added a blurb to Jaden Springer's Wikipedia page that is literally just about his one summer league performance this year.
That was me.
No, it wasn't. Don't lie to me.
I wish it was.
That's insane, though. That's insane. But
I wonder who did that.
Yeah, it's so random, right? It's got to be
whoever that is a hero.
Press. Yeah. But I'm excited to see which one of these guys get the most minutes. I think Springer is obviously first in line, in my opinion. I think X and Nemi are going to get some extra minutes as well. But those are big. So you need some wings and other stuff and guards. I think Walsh is in line. I think Springer could sneaky get some more opportunities than people realize. But Scheierman is what I meant to say. But I think Springer too. But I think those 2 guys could be sneaky picks.
I think Springer, at least heading into the season, falls in the category of you have to see what you have. You have to look.
Yeah.
I mean, especially his contract is going to be up at the end of the year. You have to see what you've got in Springer. He clearly looked good in that summer league game. I know it. The person on Wikipedia knows it. Springer knows it. The organization knows it. He has certainly earned the expectation of getting minutes, at least. Like, they got to find somewhere for him. I don't know. Do I think he should take Pritchard's minutes? No. But I think he needs to find some way to be a part of the rotation, because I think he just brings something that the bench doesn't have. He brings that defensive energy that you really lose from the guard spot once you stray away from White and Holiday. You don't need it, but it would be a very nice thing to have off the bench.
100%. Last email of the day. The Celtics Cincinnati 5-way center from RJ. Morning, folks. Let's talk about the bigs for Boston by way of a food comparison. Cincinnati style chili served with chili, beans, shredded cheese, onions, and spaghetti. You can get it in pretty much any combination of the 5 components, but all of them together make for a very tasty meal. This year, the Celtics don't so much have a starting center, but a 5-player platoon because of Kristaps' recovery and Al's age, combined with the limited experience of Cornette, Kidd, and Tillman. We know what KP and Al are capable of. So what flavors do you see the other three players providing to the mix, both in terms of reproducing elements of Al and Kristaps' style, along with adding their own special seasoning? If you are feeling bold, maybe include your thoughts on Watson and even Dimitro. Hey, Coach Mazzulla covered Animal Planet for analogies. I'm staking out the Food Network. Be well, RJ. I don't think Dimitro gets any real minutes with the Celtics this year, and I don't think Anton Watson's going to see much either, just because of how many other bigs they have on the roster right now. In my opinion, I think it'll be Cornette for just reliable screening and interior defense. I think they'll put in Tillman if they need some three-point shooting and switchable defense, and I think Cade will be out there if they want a bit more of a punch. I am curious because of the similarities between Cade and Cornette, just in the terms of they're not a three-point shooter and they're just heavily rim protectors and screen and roll guys. So I don't know what matchup will dictate who for when, but I'm excited to see when Joe breaks out. We kind of talked about this earlier, but yeah.
Yeah, we did a video on this a little bit yesterday, so if you want more details, go check that out. We talked about Nemi's jumper. But I think Luke gives you a stability that the other two don't necessarily give right away. I think Tillman is the next closest to giving you that stability, and he also gives you some versatility in terms of what you're actually getting from your center. He most closely replicates what Horford brings to the table. And going forward, that's something you're going to have to keep looking for more and more, because Horford's been a part of the team's success for years now. Nemi, we talked about it, high floor, high ceiling, low floor. He gives you a lot of good energy off the bench. He makes exciting plays, yet he really didn't earn a lot of minutes last year just because he didn't feel ready yet. He's still making undisciplined decisions on defense. He's fouling a lot. And he's not really great at finishing around the rim, even though he's good at getting the rebounds when he doesn't finish. So all of those guys bring something interesting. I think Cornette is going to be the guy to start, but the other two have a chance to knock him off that top spot.
For sure. I wonder if we see something similar where it's a lot of Cornette to start the year, and based on who plays well, Cornette slowly fades out a little bit, sort of like what Nemi did last year, but for a different reason. But we'll see. Curious. We can jump over to the NBA section, starting with ESPN firing Zach Lowe, which is just the downfall of a ridiculous line of decisions by ESPN. I saw something on Twitter along the lines of ESPN went from the pillar of sports journalism to now worthless slop in a span of X amount of years. Somebody put together a list of people the ESPN has lost, or have people that have less ESPN over the past X amount of years, and it was crazy. I'll try to find it, but man, talk about going downhill, man. Losing Woj and then letting go of Zach Lowe for what I read and reported as financial reasons. Jesus, man.
Well, you got to pay Perk. You can't lose Perk.
What a mess.
You lose Perk, you're up the creek with the fucking no paddle. This whole thing by ESPN's fucking stupid, man. You have one guy on your whole network now that is done after losing Woj, who has retired, who is making legitimate NBA content. I could be wrong. If I'm shorting somebody, I apologize. But there's one prominent figure making legitimate NBA content, and they lay him off. They let him go. Zach Lowe's podcast was something that people turned to for legitimate analysis. I read a little bit about his past earlier today, and people were talking about how he kind of revolutionized the way articles are done. A lot of the clipping of highlights and breaking down film is because Zach Lowe was doing that at Grantland. And ESPN's like, we don't want this guy anymore. We just want somebody to tell you that the things that we're trying to push through betting are true. Or we're trying to tell you that the Celtics are bad. Or we're trying to tell you that you should be watching out for the Lakers when it's April. Watch out for the Lakers. They might make a run. It's just the same shit, man. ESPN's job is to push out the big markets. Their job is to create a reaction. Their job is no longer to produce quality content. And with the way we receive media is changing, it might not be anything further than that for a lot of companies. The goal is just to get eyes on things. It really doesn't matter if it's good content anymore. People are saying that maybe AI will change that, where AI will, instead of being a search engine where you're just optimizing, it'll give you the best content. But I don't know how true that is. And you want to talk about AI? ESPN's using AI to take our jobs. So
sucks.
Just another knock against ESPN.
It was Brian Curtis, who's an editor at The Ringer. He said, last year I put together this list of people who have left ESPN. In the last 2 weeks, they've added Zach Lowe and Woj. And I'll read it here. These are people who have stepped away or have left ESPN in the past decade. Bill Simmons, Gemily Hill, Dan Le Batard, and his gang. Jameel Hill, sorry. No, thank you. Dan Le Batard and his gang, Skip Bayless, Michael Smith, Keith Olbermann, Ryan Russillo, Colin Champion, and both Pablo Torre, sorry again if I pronounced anything wrong, Maria Taylor, Wesley Morris, Matthew Barry, Mark Stein, Ethan Strauss, Jason Stark, Dana O'Neill, Danny Cannell, Trent Dilfer, Keith Van Valkenburg, Jane McManus, Tom Rinaldi, The Bear, Chris Felicia, Howie Schwab, Chad Ford, Nate Silver and his gang, and just about all of my former Grantland colleagues. Just the amount of like good sports people that are filtering in and out of there in favor of the likes of, as much as I don't mind Stephen A. Smith and Kendrick Perkins is embarrassing, right? Like, I don't mind Stephen A. Smith because you know what his shtick is. It is to create a reaction. But if that is what your entire brand is, and you are supposed to be the like ESPN was sports when I was a child. It like ESPN equals
Correct.
Sports. And now it is just slop, especially with its NBA coverage, man. It's really embarrassing, and it's sad to see.
Well, yeah, Stephen A is Stephen A, and Stephen A is great at being Stephen A. He's fantastic. Stephen A is a great listen. If you just listen to Stephen A's show, it's good. He's funny. He's creative. He's energetic. Now, when Stephen A is the breadwinner for the entire brand, and then they're like, we're going to pay him all the money, then they say, why are we paying him all the money? Well, he drives ratings. Why does he drive ratings? Because he's him. So they want to make everybody else just like him. You mentioned it. And that doesn't really work because then your whole outlet loses credibility. Stephen A, by the way, who was a legitimate journalist 10 years ago. Now he's more of a personality. Not to say he's not someone that still could be a journalist if he wanted to, but who would really not want to be a personality if they could? It's fun. So now you just have Perk, and I think Richard Jefferson's good on TV, but like you have all these different. I do. I mean, you say what you want about the thing, but
you're right. I was just thinking of the takes he's had in the past couple of months.
Yeah, but like I think he's legitimately good. They let go Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson, who were legitimately good on the broadcast.
Yep.
And now they're just rebuilding. I don't know what they're doing. It doesn't make sense. I don't know if cable television in the format that they're doing it makes a lot of sense now. If you care about all this stuff enough, you'll just find another way to consume it. If you like the NBA, you're not watching ESPN. You're listening to whatever of the billion podcasts there are about the NBA are. You pick your favorite. That's what you do.
Exactly. Whatever, man. It's just a mess. Last NBA thing before the rat list. Derrick Rose announces his retirement from the NBA. My roommate Mike and I went to the living room and watched Derrick Rose highlights last night in memoriam. Mike also told me that he said he believes if Derrick Rose stayed healthy, he could have been the best point guard of all time. I called him an idiot because I think that's not true. But shout out Derrick Rose, man. What a career.
Yeah, Derrick Rose really is like a great what if, which I'm sure every podcast you may have listened to this week said. But his Bulls teams were really meant to challenge the LeBron Heat teams. And before he got hurt, that was a real possibility. Then he gets hurt. Celtics make the conference finals in 2012. And then going forward, he's just never the same. I'll never forget being in middle school and the whole spring being like, is Derrick Rose going to play? Not tonight. Is he going to play in this game? Nope, not yet. And the playoffs just kept going on and on and on and on. And people are wondering, is this guy going to make a return? And it just never happened. And then he finally gets back. He has like a couple good playoff runs with Chicago where they make the semifinals, but they never get back to the conference finals. And then he's out. And once he left Chicago, the teams were just never competitive again. He never had the opportunity to really show, one, what he still had, or two, what he's going to do in a competitive environment. It was just tough, man. That's somebody who achieved so much at a young age. They were playing on the team that they grew up watching. And, I mean, it's good. He's retired now. I'm sure he's going to do some stuff. Maybe he'll be the new Perk. Who wouldn't want to do that?
Imagine. We'll see. But anyways, let's jump into the rat list here. Relatively quick show today, but I don't think it's for a lack of content. I think it's for a lack of filler content. I almost feel like shows in the summer tend to be longer because we try to fill the space so much with random stuff. And now that we're here, it's just we have so much like good content that we just focus on the good content and don't bother filling in with filler stuff. But Rat List, Sam, what do you have for me?
Rat List is people that interrupt during a comedy show. So I went last week. I meant to mention this on both Rat Lists before this show. I guess I could just be like, yeah, on Saturday, because it's Sunday morning now as you're hearing this. I went to a comedy show. And it's just like a small pop-up comedy show. It's a lot of fun. They do them. It's called Don't Tell Comedy. So if you're interested in that stuff, look, I'm sure they do them near you. But anyways, at the beginning of the show, they bring out the host, and the host is like, couple rules, blah, 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 blah. Don't talk to the comics unless they talk to you. So I was at the show last week, and people in the front row just thought it was about them. And they were definitely like intoxicated. I don't know what they were necessarily intoxicated with, but they were taking something, whether drinking, smoking, taking something else. And they clearly just did not know how to handle themselves when they got the attention of the closing comic. He was incredible. He was like this 6'7" dude, and he was just talking mad shit to everybody in the front row because they could not control themselves. And he was like, what is going on in here? Like, you people have no self-control. And he did a great job with it, but not everybody would. And I feel for the people that are just trying to get their jokes off and try and practice. And they got these dumbass people they weren't like talking shit to them. They were just being a little disruptive.
They thought they were the sun. Everything revolved around them.
Yes. And listen, I go to these shows and I feel the same way, but I don't act on it. It's really weird. Like when you go to an intimate comedy show like that, and I think you may feel it too if you ever do it like this, because I'm so used to being a part of the pod when funny things are being said. And I have a reaction in my brain to, oh, this could be a comment to that. We could go this way off of that. And I do think of like, what if you did this? But I don't say it out loud. I just kind of keep it with me. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, it's not about me.
For sure. No, I know what you mean. My roommate just texted me. Best player is not what I said. I said he could have been the best point guard. I'm making a burner to push the fake news agenda of How About Them Celtics because he can hear me through the wall doing the podcast. Yeah. He said best point guard of all time, which I still don't think D Rose would be as good as
a lot of really great point guards.
Yeah, Curry, Magic Johnson. Come on.
Thomas.
Yeah. Anti-rat list. So last pod I mentioned that I've been going to Twin Donuts every day, which is the place, like bagel place. Somebody in the comments said, oh, try this there. I didn't try it. I need to, but I just wanted to acknowledge a comment. But I went there today. I got my same order. I walk in, right? And the lady goes, hey, turkey, egg and cheese, sesame seed, and a large coffee. I said, correct, thank you. And she goes, do you want a donut? I'm like, no, I'm okay. She goes, no, it's free. What do you want? I'm like, no, I don't. It's okay. I don't want it. And she goes, no, no one's taking them. You're taking a donut. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll give the chocolate. She goes, okay, I'll give you 2. She gave me 2 free donuts, sent me on my way.
How were they?
Developing a rapport. They're good. They're pretty good donuts. I was pleased. I ate them like a little later, so they weren't quite as fresh because I had a bagel that I was eating. But it's I like my routine. Shout out Twin Donuts. Go check it out if you're in Austin. But
I'm telling you, there's nothing like becoming a regular.
It feels good. I'm enjoying it.
You get it now.
The last time I was a regular somewhere, it was in college. I was a regular at the food court. Like I had my routine. I'd go to class and come back and get a chicken sandwich and a drink and go. And me and like the guy who worked back there just started like talking every day. So if you listen to this, no way. But I feel like I had a rat list, but I don't remember what it was. Shoot. Yeah, I don't.
You need to play your college football. The season is over. Jack and I have been doing online dynasty. You don't have to play right now. You just have to. I know.
I'm going to play basketball, and then I will come back and I'll set a reminder for myself.
I'm not going to be home until tomorrow, so you don't have to worry about it.
Fine. Okay,
but anyways, Jack and I playing our college football dynasty, and Jack dropped out. He went on autopilot this year because the SEC was unkind to him. He wanted to move.
College football's not fun for me anymore, man.
Green wave to the
I don't have any fun.
And we also turned the difficulty to the highest level, and it was just a wall of pain. That I'm
not good enough at the game for it to be fun in those settings. So I'll come back and try again next year, and we'll see what happens.
It would be a little funny if you got fired.
Did I get fired?
I don't know if you got fired, but it would be a little funny if you did get fired.
While you do your next rat list, I'll check if I got fired live on the pod.
Okay.
That's a lie. My Xbox isn't plugged in. Don't feel like plugging it in right now.
Yeah, I don't blame
not
you.
Connected.
Rat list. So my job did like a week full of like events this week. It was like presentations. Then there were like team building things. Overall, it wasn't too bad. It's just like you had to be there a lot. Thursday was the last day. last day. They kick off the day. They have 2 outside people come to present to us. The second lady was fine. The first presentation, they have this woman up there. And you just know, like, from the first slide, first kind of introduction, you know it's going to be a rough hour. You just knew. And the presentation was so unbelievably dry. The lady was bombing up there. I had texted my buddy next to me, like probably 5 minutes in, was like, this is going to be a rough watch. Like, this is brutal. And as you do, Jack, when things are not entertaining and you kind of start to look around, you look at people's faces. I do see a lot of people who are making the same faces as me. They look like they're staring into the abyss. They are just going through the absolute time drag that is happening. I did stumble upon one individual who was 100% asleep. 100% was sleeping. And so these are some of the best memories, but in the moment, it's never fun. When you are in a situation where you have to do everything in your power not to start laughing because the room's quiet and you don't want to be the guy that's laughing, it is a tough ask. I was doing the cover of my mouth. I was pinching my leg. I was biting the inside of my cheek. I survived. I didn't laugh, but I was so afraid that somebody was going to come up to me. I was like doing the little air out the nose. It's like if you're it's like a dam that's overflowing and a few drops are getting over the top. Yeah, that was me with my laughter, but I did not make a scene or anything. My man was knocked out for probably a half hour of this presentation. It was a brutal presentation. Dude was just mouth agape, head back. And we also have this guy at our company that kind of looks like Jersey Jerry, and he was sitting next to that guy, and it just made it a little bit funnier.
That is funny. I don't really have anything else. I just saw that the Heat posted a picture of it's Bam, Jimmy, Jovic, Hero, Rozier, Hawkes, and Highsmith. And somebody said, find me a better top 7 you can. And someone replied with a picture of the Celtics and said, literally pick anybody you want for 7. It's just the top 6. And Heat fans are not happy. But yes, Ben Rohrbach of Yahoo Sports did an exercise where he ranked the top first option, second option, third option, fourth option, and fifth option of everybody. And the Celtics average ranking was a 2.4, and the next highest was 5.6. So safe to say they're doing pretty good. But I don't got anything else for our list. I'm chilling.
I'm done. That's my closing.
All right. Well, in that case, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to How About Them Celtics on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple, and all that. Sam, take it out.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening and watching. Make sure you subscribe, leave a like, comment, tell us what you're thinking heading into the new season. Again, less than a week till the first preseason game. You can subscribe. You can hit the bell. You won't miss any of our daily content. New pods drop Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Game recaps will be back the morning after each game, and other videos in between are there to keep you busy. We're also doing all the same stuff on Spotify and Apple. All pods and recaps will be up there for you. So if you're just more into the audio stuff, follow us there, and you'll get all of it right into your feed. We would love it if you left a 5-star review. It would make our day. You can find our email, hbtcpod@gmail.com. Send your thoughts in there. We do read them on every single pod recording, as you saw today. So tell us what you're looking forward to heading into the preseason games or whatever else. We love to hear from all of you. You can email us. You can follow us on socials at How About Them C's for Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The Facebook's the name of the pod. All streams are there. They're on YouTube. They're on Twitter. Jack's Twitter's at Jack's Fun, NBA Mine's at Sam LaFrance, and that's it for us.
Taco, come on.
Taco's having some fun here.
That is bogus. These guys are ridiculous.